Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 13 of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we are talking about finding your blue ocean. So, what is finding your blue ocean? What does that mean? And today we're using a framework that we really admire and have studied a lot about, and it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. It has helped many organizations, and I would include businesses and nonprofits and movements around the world, to really differentiate themselves in a way that causes change, causes impact, and causes growth. So, what we've done here is pulled out really the key components of the framework and simplified it so that we can turn this into something that you as entrepreneurs and leaders of nonprofits can apply to your businesses and movements. So let's break this down for you guys today. And we're going to talk about what it actually is first, and then some of the key components of the framework that I want to pull out and you can actually apply them. So use this as a working session. If you're not in your car driving or somewhere on the go, pull out a sheet of paper or your journal and start to write down some thoughts or jot some notes in your phone. So the Blue Ocean Strategy is really the pursuit of differentiation. So what makes you different, and low cost to open up a new market space and create new demand. So it's really about creating and capturing market space where no one is, thereby making the competition irrelevant. So in the book, it talks a lot about the red ocean versus the blue ocean. So think of a red ocean full of sharks with bloody water, right? Going after each other. The water is red because of the fierce fighting that they're doing in the water, right? And so that's how competitors can often feel in a busy, crowded market space. So think about your market space. How is it? Is it overly crowded? Who do you compete with? And why? And how closely aligned are your products and services? And so, what we want to do here is discover blue ocean space, which is clear, it is not murky, there is clarity, and there is differentiation, right? It's clean. And so, what we want to do is go after that blue ocean space, that differentiation, the thing that separates us from the rest, so that we can truly stand alone in a good way, right? And so there's so many components, but we're going to dive into three of them. And those three are creating new value, looking across industries, because we can learn when we look across industries, right? And we can pull out the things that we like, we can cherry pick them and apply them innovatively to our own space. And then we can capture non-customers to create our game-changing strategy. And we talk a lot about this in the Strategy Masterclass at Storywork, which is our e-course strategy map for entrepreneurs and founders to walk themselves through this strategy process. But when we become game changers rather than just outperformers in a market space, then we're truly able to do what we were called to do, right? To walk in our identity as people and as a company. So that's our main goal. That's the greater vision of what we're after here. So what we're going to talk about first is creating new value. How do we create new value apart from our competitors? We can either reduce something like a cost, we can create something new, something different. We can eliminate something, so we can streamline, we can partner, right, to eliminate something and simplify, or we can raise something, we can elevate something to make it more clear, right, or highlight something about our services that is different or present it in a new way through our experience, right? So I want you to think about how you create new value or how you might pursue new value, because cost savings are made by eliminating something, right? And reducing factors that an industry competes upon. So is there anything you can eliminate or reduce through a partnership with someone or simplify a business model to save on cost? Let's look at an example of this right now. So a lot of places, because of COVID-19, have discovered that they can work remotely. They can work a lot more remotely than they thought they could before this whole thing happened, right? When they were forced into developing this new system and these new ways of coming together, they were really able to discover that there may be an opportunity to eliminate rent in some cases, or eliminate or combine or streamline offices or meeting space. And those things can create really big impact, right? So that may allow them to compete against, not compete against their competitors, but really change the game for their space if they're a first mover in the industry and decide, hey, you know what? I don't actually think we need this space. I think we can do something different. So that's an example. Another way of creating new value is raising something. So buyer value is lifted by raising and creating elements that the industry has never offered. So take a look back at your ecosystem map. If you've been listening in, that was a few weeks ago. And we talked about what are all the products and services that your customers interact with, right? Around your brand or your service that you offer. What can you add as a bolt-on service or a partnership that might create something new, that might add value to what you already offer? What do they do before and after they interact with you? And is there an opportunity to potentially add something or partner with someone to add value? The next one is create. What has the industry never offered that you could potentially offer? What has someone never done that you have the opportunity to do? Some places are doing radical things right now to gain back business, right? So an example of this might be restaurants offering free drinks in the parking lot while you're waiting for your takeout because it might be taking extra long, but they really want to show you that they appreciate you, right? Or places are getting super creative about outdoor dining, right? And taking over parking lot space maybe to set up tents to have outdoor dining. There are all kinds of things that businesses are doing right now, especially. And so there's really an opportunity more than ever to innovate and to do things outside of the box to reach people. So always go back to your user personas, your people. Who are your people that you serve? What would they respond to? And what would really develop delight in their eyes, right? You have an opportunity to offer something that has never been offered before, to create something new. So the next thing, we've covered the first thing. That's creating new value. So now we're moving into the second component we really love about Blue Ocean strategy, and that's looking across industries to pull out things that you like from their industries and apply them to your business. So think through alternative industries around you. List other industries out and business models that you admire and why. So what are some of the business models that you really like and really admire and have looked up to? List them out, some companies, some brands, and think about what you love about them. What are the things, if you had to put it into a few words or one sentence, that you absolutely love about those companies, brands, or industries? What do you love about it? And then can you translate that into your business model? And what would it look like if you would offer those things? That translation process there is key. This is the gold in strategy. What you're doing is you're pulling out the really amazing stuff that you love and you're saying, can I apply that to my company? And how could I offer that to my clients? How could I make them feel that same way that I feel when I'm engaging with that brand or that product or that service? So there lies the opportunity. Another thing we can do when looking across industries, complementary product and service offerings. So look back at your ecosystem map. What products or services come before or after your services? And we mentioned this in the previous one, but think through what your customer does before and after. And are there any opportunities for partnership? Partnership is a great way to get into this if you don't have cash on hand or lots of capital, right? Capital reserves in order to, acquire a complementary product or service or, go out and purchase it and add it to your product lineup. So can you partner with someone for, a revenue share and market it together, bundle services, right? So that they could, the customer could have that more holistic experience and deliver delight to them. The third piece of looking across industries, strategic groups within industries. So what larger groups or coalitions serve your industry? And is there a place to connect with them? This goes back to the reach out strategy, right? So really making those strategic connections and fostering those relationships in order to drive word of mouth strategy for your business. And word of mouth strategy is really one of the most powerful tools because when people hear someone recommend a business that's been developed through relationship and trust, they won't question it nearly as much as they will as if you're trying to convert cold traffic. So you really want to think through what opportunities there are for those larger groups or coalitions that serve your industry and start building relationships with them. Just be really genuine with them, figure out where you can add value, where you can help, where you can volunteer, or what strength you might have that you could help serve them and just foster those relationships. And then over time, what happens is you really drive your word of mouth strategy directly. The last thing is the functional or emotional appeal to buyers. So, is there a feature that hasn't been highlighted, right? This is the elevation or raising something that might meet the buyer's core needs that you've identified within your user personas. So, you might be offering something already, but you might not be highlighting it in a way that's really reaching your buyers. So go back to your user personas, go back to who you serve, go back to what are their deepest needs, and think through how you might highlight something or elevate something in your marketing that could speak directly to that core need, right? So there's so much opportunity here for just speaking to things and highlighting things at the right time. So right now their needs might have changed. They might be in need of a break, rest, hope, vision, something to keep them from getting distracted right now, right? And staying focused on their business or prioritizing something for themselves, right? With everything that's going on in the world. So for you as a business owner or a leader of a movement, you need to prioritize those things. You need to prioritize what their core needs are and really speak to those in how you are highlighting what you offer. And the last thing, the third component that we're highlighting in this podcast for the Blue Ocean strategy is considering non-customers. And what we're looking to understand here are the customers that currently aren't buying your product. Why aren't they buying? Who are the customers that are on the edge, that are on the outer ring, that maybe think about it? They might click on your website, they might dabble through, they might call you for a consult, but not buy. If we can identify who those people are and why they aren't buying, we have an opportunity to capture a larger market share through an iteration of our business model, right? So here's tier one of capturing non-customers. They're closest to that current market, right? They're waiting to be invited in. They might occasionally buy your product or service, but they aren't part of your raving fan base. They aren't part of your word of mouth, right? Strategy. Who is this for you? Think through this personality type. What might define them? What are some key characteristics or traits that you can call out and write down? Connect this with one of your user personas or list out their characteristics. And we leave a space in the PDF that I'm going to drop in the show notes for you to do this, for you to journal through this. Because this is really the customer base that likes your work, that notices you on social media or however you're sharing, but maybe doesn't know exactly where you fit into their lives yet. Like has been kind of on the fringe, has been following you, but hasn't been invited in directly. So what you need to do is really connect with their needs directly and really get in tune with what kind of invitation they're looking for, what fits their needs, right? For me, for Storywork, there's, the podcast, there's the email blast, the weekly strategy game, there's the strategy masterclass that's a self-guided e-course, right? And then there's the mastermind. Well, people want to engage differently with me based on where they are. So my tier one of non-customers would be those that follow me on social media, listen to the podcast, take in the weekly emails, but maybe don't go through the strategy masterclass yet or join a mastermind, right? So who is this for you? And how do you need to speak to them for them to be invited in, right? For them to learn more about you. Tier two of non-customers is really the customers that refuse to buy. So they've seen it and they've chosen not to buy. Who is this for you? And if you want extra credit here, this is extra credit. Maybe this is ancillary work. Really think through why. What are their objections? And this is always important anyway, to list out their objections. And are there any value adds that you can elevate or highlight that might begin to pique their interest and move them through your sales funnel. So identify the roadblocks and think through it as opportunities to forge relationships with them. And this might help also with driving that tier one of non-customers, because once you've thought through tier two and you really know why those people aren't buying or the common objections, chances are tier one has some of those things too, but can be converted more easily. So there's such value in doing this work, identifying those objections, and then speaking to them in your language, in your posts, in your podcasts, in your emails. Tier three of non-customers, and this is the last one, is really talking about the people that don't even see your product or service on their radar. They might not have a need for it right now, or they've just never thought of it as an option. Who doesn't even know that you're an option or wouldn't consider your services? And why is that? Is there an ideal scenario where they might? And what would have to take place for this to happen? This is really good to think through, because you might not be on some people's radar just because they don't know about you, or they don't know the value that you offer and how it directly correlates with an outcome that they want. That's what people need to know, is how does this speak to an outcome that I want and need right now? And so once you've done the hard work, the deep work of pulling this stuff out, walking through this journal guide, then you can start to speak to this stuff in your marketing, on your calls. And this stuff, then you're resonating, then you're connecting with people. And that's what is going to drive the growth. So in the end of the PDF, I give a space, a one sheet where you can put it all together and define the actions that you might take or the tweaks that you're going to make to your offerings after journaling through all these components. So this is directly out of the strategy masterclass, but I'm giving this PDF for free. So I'm going to drop it in the show notes. And if you want more, you can also go to www.storywork.co. Thank you so much for tuning in, and leave us some comments, leave us a review, share this podcast if you have loved it.